You may have noticed some oddly dressed people in the hall. And what we'd hoped to do is a small vignette or a skit about a town meeting in 1774 when, as you know, this year is going to mark the 250th anniversary of Lexington and Concord and the beginning of the War for American Independence. Culminating next year, Townsend Historical Society and the Townsend Minutemen will hope to sponsor a parade on June 20th, 2026. And just to try to set the tone for what was going on back then, 1774, Townsend had a town meeting on January 11th after hearing from Boston, the Boston Committee of Correspondence and the Boston Selectmen about this historic event where the Bostonians dumped tea into Boston Harbor. And they wanted to know, what did the town of Townsend think about that? So,
John, you want to just briefly mention the April 19th event too?
Oh, yeah, don't forget that. Just so you know, the next event we'll be doing on April 19th, we're going to recreate the March of the Townsend Minutemen on receiving the Concord alarm, going down to, we're not going to walk all the way to Concord, but we're going to start at the Methodist Church, if I can get their permission, fire a cannon, and then the Minutemen will assemble, and as many of our citizens that would like to join us, and hopefully we'll have at least 73, because 73 men marched for Concord on that day, and we hope to have wooden muskets for people to bear as Minutemen, and we'll march down the rail trail, again, not historic, but a little safer than walking down Main Street, till we get to the Harbor Church, where we'll have some festivities there. So,
huzzah!
Huzzah! We'll try to get, well, this is pretty quick, so we won't keep you too long. All right, we have a quorum, gentlemen. Let's come to order. Mr. Adams, do you have a return of the warrant?
I do, Mr. Hosley. I, Israel Hobart, Constable, do swear that I have given notice to the inhabitants of the town of Townsend of a town meeting to be held at the Meeting House in said town upon Tuesday, the 11th day of January instant, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, by posting notice of the same at the Meeting House, at the Tavern in the Harbor, and the Joslinville Inn in West Townsend on December 29th, 1773, in the name of our dread sovereign, George III, by grace of God, the King of Great Britain and Ireland and his several colonies.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. There's only one article which I will read. Having received a letter from the selectmen of the town of Boston concerning recent events there, when a group of men and boys dressed as Mohawks dumped tea into Boston Harbor, given the imposition of the duty on tea, the selectmen of Boston desire to hear our opinion on the current state of affairs. What response shall the town give to the town of Boston? Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Captain Taylor.
I move the town meeting vote to support the town of Boston and reply to the selectmen of Boston expressing the town's objection to the unlawful and hostile imposition of the duty on tea, and we agree that no tea be imported until that duty is abolished.
Is there a second? Mr. Locke?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Second.
I second.
All right, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there anything to be said?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Wallace.
I cannot fathom what all the fuss is about over tea. As you know, the Empire spent millions of pounds in the late war to prevent the French and their indigenous allies from destroying us. These wars have been waged from time to time for the last 70 years. Is it too much that our gracious king ask us to contribute a mere 3 pennies a pound tax on tea for our defense?
Gracious. Five.
Order. Finish your points, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. You've all heard my points. I say we send no reply to the selectmen of Boston. They are fomenting rebellion for no good reason.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Locke.
Mr. James Locke. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Wallace, the fuss, as you put it, is that we never consented to these duties.
Mr. Locke, direct your questions to the comments to the chair, please.
My apologies, Mr. Moderator. Nor can we, as we have no voice in Parliament, no representative. These duties are only driving a wedge between the colonies and the mother country. I only pray calmer heads like Edwin Burke and William Pitt will prevail in Parliament.
Mr. Wallace.
Mr. Moderator, I have to agree. Let the radicals in Boston vent their spleen against Parliament. They will rue the day they dumped the East India Company's tea in Boston Harbor. Besides, I enjoy a hot cup of tea and have no desire to prohibit its importation.
Oh, vent your spleen, Mr. Wallace. If you buy an ounce of tea, should the vote pass for an embargo?
Order. Captain Taylor will have none of that.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Locke.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I say we should respond to the town of Boston and tell them we support them. This duty on tea is an infringement on our liberties as Englishmen. I fervently hope that we can resolve this dispute with our countrymen across the sea. But if not, perhaps it's time we part ways.
Five!
Order. Again, Mr. Wallace.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It appears that there are two views being expressed on the floor regarding our attitude towards the duty on tea. I still count myself a loyal subject of King George. However, it's my belief that his ministers are deceiving him as to the conditions in these colonies.
Yeah.
Here.
I have given this matter much thought, and I would like to submit the following resolves. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. All right, this is the resolve from Mr. Wallace that the town, taking into consideration certain intelligence received from the Committee of Correspondence in Boston, together with their request for intelligence and advice from the several towns in this province, pass the following resolves. Being informed of the late proceedings of our fellow countrymen in Philadelphia relative to the East India Company being allowed to send large quantities of tea into these colonies, subject to the payment of a duty upon its being landed, we do agree with them and readily adopt their sentiments upon this affair. Resolved, that we have ever been uneasy with the plan laid down by the British Ministry for raising revenue in America, and that the present situation of our public affairs, particularly in respect to the late Act of Parliament in favor of the East India Company, requires our attention, and therefore, further, resolve that we stand forth in the cause of liberty, in union with the other towns, and in gratitude to the spirited, patriotic town of Boston in particular. Resolve that we earnestly advise that no tea be imported into this or any other American colony, so long as it is subject to a duty payable upon its being landed here. And resolve that we are sorry for the unhappy disagreement between this and the mother country, and we earnestly wish harmony to be restored. Is there anything to be said on the resolution? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous.
Huzzah!
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
The meeting is dissolved. All right. All right, that just gives you a little taste of what was going on in Townsend 251 years ago. And now, thank you all for coming out tonight to see what's going on in the 21st century. I think we have the check counters have been appointed, and I think the hall is set up. We're going to wait till we get the microphones over to the selectmen. Let's see. I'm going to ask that if there are any non-voters, that they sit in the front here. If there's anyone that wishes to record the meeting, I'd ask that they sit over there if they don't mind, just to make sure we don't interfere with the broadcast by Townsend Cable Access Media. And everybody's got a seat tonight. That's good. And I'm going to take this hat off. Yeah, but I can't. It actually helps the glare, but still, I might not see the folks in the balcony. Okay, and I don't think our deputy moderator is here. Yes, he is. Mr. Rahala, we've already voted you in, so we don't have to do that until the spring annual town meeting. And it appears that we need a real return of the warrant, and where there is a quorum present, I hereby call this special town meeting to order this 28th day of January 2025. I keep going back to 2021. 2025. All right, Madam Clerk. Oh, wait a minute, you're still miking? We'll wait till they're mic'd up, and I just want to, if you will, let me belabor the fact that we have a number of events with the Historical Society and the Minutemen. We're trying to engage all the community to get involved. As Mr. Rideout said, our first big event will probably be the March to Concord, so we're hoping that folks from Recreation, the schools, the library, and quite frankly, all townspeople would join us on that historic day. It's going to happen begin at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we hope to see you there. If anyone's interested in learning how to become a Minuteman, see me, or go on the website, Townsend's website, Minuteman, townsendmm.org. Yeah. Okay.
John,
Oh, Nelson?
just want to give you the list of the articles and
Oh, okay.
motions.
Okay, the
So when we second the second article, Aaron from Land Use is going to talk about it.
Okay.
And then the last three, the planning board ones,
Yep,
Rob,
reports.
yeah,
Rob's everything.
yeah, he'll read all three.
Right, okay. So I know this most will take no action on two. Gloria told me.
4 and 14.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're going to go back, Lori and Veronica are going to read the motions, like, round robin.
Okay, good, all right.
Well, we're gonna have to
All right, I think we're ready. I guess you guys know me. I am not actually James Hosley, I'm John Barrett. And I'll identify the folks that you all probably know. Kathy Spofford, Town Clerk, to my right. And then we have the Board of Selectmen, Laura Schifrin and Veronica Kell. Our Town Administrator, Nelson Mui. Town Council, Adam Costa. Our Finance Committee on the floor, to my right, is Chairman Don Hayes. I can't see exactly, I guess it's Sam Grant, Geraldine Bozikas, Mary Jane Churchill, and Carol Hofstas. And we have Melissa Dunnett here for the Collector's Office. And, I don't know, Katie? No.
Aaron.
Oh, okay, all right. All right. So, just to go over a few of the rules that we have, actually, why don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance? I'll lead us. We would all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, just to go over where meetings governed by town meeting time. Please be recognized before you speak and identify your name and address, even if I know who you are. Please direct your comments and questions to the moderator. Any motions or amendments to motions must be in writing and brought up to the clerk. If the matter is voted on tonight, it may be reconsidered by a majority vote if the motion to reconsider is made tonight. If the meeting goes to a second night, heaven forfend, it would require a 9/10 vote to bring a matter up for reconsideration. Votes are taken by ayes and noes. The moderator determines the outcome of the vote, and if in doubt, I'll ask for the counters to come forward. If the vote, as I call it, is questioned by 7 voters, if you stand, if you want to question my count of the vote, then we will call forward the counters. If you're confused about a situation on the floor, please raise a point of order. If something procedural is going wrong, if for some reason you can't hear or there's some inconvenience happening, then you can raise a point of privilege, and you don't have to wait to be recognized, but just raise your hand and say, Mr. Moderator, point of order or point of privilege. A motion to move the question cuts off debate and is not debatable. However, our practice is that one cannot rise to debate a motion and then move the question, thereby getting in the last word. To move the question, you must first also be recognized to speak, and you may not interrupt the speaker. And if there has been insufficient discussion and there appear to be many questions, a motion to move the question will be deemed out of order. Ask everyone to remain courteous and keep applause to a minimum. And visitors may speak if there's no objection, or if it appears to me that it's something important that they can communicate to the meeting, I can exercise the authority to let them speak. But I don't exercise that lightly. Department heads designated for their department to speak, who aren't voters in the town, are also allowed to speak on matters pertinent to their department. And now, is there a return of the new warrant for 2025?
If we can get a copy, and then we can just
clicked
sign
on?
the motions on the copy.
Not working? You want to do it from here?
Nelson's getting another copy of this. We'll just sign it.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Townsend by posting up attested copies of the same at Memorial Hall, 272 Main Street at the center, West Townsend Reading Room, 264 Dudley Road in West Townsend, Police Communications Center, 70 Brookline Road, Harbor Fire Station, 47 Main Street, and the Harbor Church, 80 Main Street, at least 14 days before the date of the meeting, as within directed. Michelle Dold, Constable of Townsend.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, appears we're ready to begin, and I'll read the first article. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $212.17 or any other sum for the purpose of paying the following prior fiscal year bills. Bound tree, $163.77, or a bound tree, $48.40, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion? Ms. Schifrin?
I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $212.17 for the purpose of paying the following prior fiscal...
Yeah. Can't hear?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. You might have to hold it closer, or...
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Barely? Get in.
It worked in 1774.
I'm going to hold it. Can you hear me now? All right.
That's good.
I move that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $212.17 for the purpose of paying the following prior fiscal year bills. Bound tree, $163.77, and bound tree, $48.40, for a total of the $212.17.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded?
Get a second.
Second.
Did I hear? Yeah, okay. The motion's made and seconded. Anything to be said? All right, appears we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 2, to see if the town of Townsend will vote, 1, to raise and appropriate a total of $397,000, of which $32,000 will come from free cash, $100,000 will come from an awarded PAR or park grant, $250,000 will come from an awarded Massachusetts Office on Disabilities grant, and $15,000 will be provided by a donation from the Kids Country Playground Committee to replace the current deteriorating playground with an ADA-compliant and inclusive playground at the Kids Country Playground located at 27 Turnpike Road behind Spalding Memorial School, located at 1 Whitcomb Street in Townsend, to expand the safety and number of children who will be able to enjoy the playground, and 2, to authorize the Select Board to apply for and accept on behalf of the town any and all grants deemed necessary under the Urban Self-Help Act of 301 CMR 5 as reimbursement for project costs and expenses, and to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary on behalf of the town to effectuate the same or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town raise and appropriate a total $397,000, of which $32,000 will come from free cash, $100,000 will come from an awarded park grant, $250,000 will come from an awarded Massachusetts Office on Disabilities grant, and $15,000 will be provided by a donation from the Kids Country Playground Committee to replace the current deteriorating playground with an ADA-compliant and inclusive playground at the Kids Country Playground located at 27 Turnpike Road behind the Spalding Memorial School, located at 1 Whitcomb Street in Townsend, to expand the safety and number of children who will be able to enjoy the playground, and to authorize the Select Board to apply for and accept on behalf of the town any and all grants deemed necessary under the Urban Self-Help Act, 301 CMR 5.0, as reimbursed for project costs and expenses, and to enter into all agreements and execute any and all instruments as may be necessary on behalf of the town to effectuate the same.
Second.
Okay, thank you. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there anything to be said? Any questions?
Mr.
Yep.
Moderator, there's a report
Oh, I'm sorry.
from the land use
Right, from Land Use Coordinator. If you will hold your comments for a second. There is a report on this article. I don't know, could you use maybe the FinCom's mic? Do we have a mic, David?
Here's a mic. Eric.
All right.
Let me know when you want me to advance.
Good evening, everyone. I am Erin Steffield. I am the Land Use Coordinator. Brand new, so if you don't recognize me, don't feel too bad. So we are here today to see if we can raise and appropriate the $32,000 that are necessary for us to receive from free cash for us to pay for a $400,000 playground. So this is replacing a playground that is currently in disrepair. It is 25 years old, and there are, they'll show in a couple of slides, there are a lot of broken, jagged metal pieces. There are pieces of the playground that are no longer functional. It's just outlived its useful life, and so we're looking to replace it. So if you can go back up a little bit, Nelson. Thank you. So we can see here the cost breakdown, just to make it easy. I'm going to be using the figure of 400,000. It's a lot easier to say than 397. But we have $100,000 from the park grants that has already been awarded, as well as the $250,000 from the Mass Office on Disabilities grant. Those are both awarded, and we have $15,000 that's been raised by the Kids Country Playground Committee, which is fantastic, and will all be going towards this. So the required portion that we have now is $32,000, and that helps close that gap, and it is a requirement of the park grant that we pitch in some of the money. So they reimburse us up to 68%, and that will bring us to, with what we already have, will bring us to the $100,000 which brings us to about $400,000. So we've spoken to several designers in the process of writing this grant and preparing for bringing this to fruition, and we are confident that we can get a really nice playground for Townsend for $400,000. This playground will be ADA accessible and inclusive. That means that kids of all ages and abilities will be able to use it, as well as caregivers. Just because you aren't easily able to walk up steps anymore, if you're a grandparent watching your grandchildren, or if you are a guardian, or if you have a stroller with you, you'll be able to more easily access the children that you're playing with, as well as, thank you, as well as be able to, the children themselves will be able to more easily play, as well as have their guardians with them as well. If you want to scroll down. So if you aren't familiar, this is where the Kids Country Playground is. It is sort of highlighted in that yellow area there, and it is attached to the Spalding School, if you want to keep going. So this is just showing what the playground looks like if you haven't been there for a while or if you've never visited. So currently there are no inclusive or accessible play spaces. Someone who, like I said, has a stroller or maybe isn't as mobile as they used to be, or is in a wheelchair, is not able to access the playscape as we would hope that they would be able to. If you can keep scrolling down, thank you. So once again, these are just some more photos, so if you're not familiar with the playground. All right, and then right down below there is, we can see the jagged pieces. These are just some of the pictures that I took when I was last there. So we have, some broken playscape, as well as our broken metal pieces, which we don't love to have children playing on. So we'd love to be something that is safe for our kids to be playing on. If you can scroll down a little bit more. Thank you. So as a part of our rebuilding of this playground, we're going to have a designer working with us, and that will make it so that it is a playground that is designed for Townsend. I felt very strongly that we don't want to have a playground that has been designed for another community and plopped into Townsend. It should be something that is designed for here with people's input. We're going to have a community engagement process, and we're going to be working with a designer, like I said, to make sure that the property that we have is being properly utilized. So whether that is creating topography so that we have some more interesting things, whether that is utilizing some just specific playground equipment that feels most like Townsend, what you all want to see. We want to make sure that this is something that everybody agrees on and feels comfortable with. Within our $400,000 budget. So we will be working within that, but the designers that I've spoken to and that we are looking to possibly work with are confident that we can get something pretty good for that amount of money. So we're really excited for that. These are just some examples of what ADA accessible playgrounds can look like. It's not what we're planning on, dropping into Townsend, but it gives you kind of an idea of there's different styles of playgrounds that we might be looking at, and we can get something that's really lovely. And once again, just the cost breakdown at the bottom there. So in order to receive $400,000 in funds, which we're getting $350,000 in grant funding, we're asking for $32,000 in free cash, which I think is a pretty good deal, but that's obviously up to all of you to decide. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions or comments? Yep, in the back there.
Leroy Boucher, Main Street. How do you know $400,000 is going to be enough if you haven't entertained any plans yet?
Question comes on the motion. Go ahead.
So we have, like I said, I've spoken to several designers who have worked on, they build playgrounds for a living. And so we've looked at several different options for what this could look like. I've also spoken to several different towns who have recently built playgrounds and got sort of quotes for what they did. So could we get a playground for $1 million? Sure, if you guys want to pay for it. But they are confident that we can get something that is really nice and is a really good replacement for $400,000.
Okay, comments come on the motion.
Pat Belcher, Haynes Road. Number one is to make this correct. 27 Turnpike Road is a private residence. So you may want to change that to read corner of Turnpike Road and Eastman Streets. My in-laws would appreciate having their own playground in their front yard. But to make this legal, it needs to be changed before we even vote on it. And number two, is there a time frame to use the grant money?
Okay, questions and comments come on the motion, and can someone prepare a motion to amend the motion for the address? And question, I think, was...
Mr. Moderator?
Say again. What was the question, the second part?
Time frame to use the grant money.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you. That was part that I didn't cover that I meant to. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So we are in a tight time frame. Some of the grant funds need to be used by June 30th of this year, and the rest of it can be used after that point. So we are sort of looking at doing this in kind of two phases, and I've been mapping it out, and I'm fairly confident that we won't have any hiccups. But that's why I've done so much prep work ahead of time. I have gotten several designers that I have already gotten proposals from. They are just simply proposals of, we would do this work for you for this amount of money, and we could do the park for this amount, not necessarily actually laying out a playground, because that comes later, once you all have had your input. But we feel confident that we are able to complete this within the allotted time that is given with the grants.
Okay, comments come on the motion.
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, Ms.
I'd like
Schiffer.
to make a motion to amend this article to say that the address is the corner of Eastman and Turnpike.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion's been made and seconded to amend the address on Article 2 from 27 Turnpike to the corner of Eastman Street and Turnpike Road. Anything to be said? I hope not. And all those in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The article or motion is amended. And Ms. Dunnett, did you have a question?
Hi, thank you so much for all that information. My question's, who's going to have financial oversight? Is that you as the land use coordinator of the grants and the whole project?
I believe that is the plan, but I would defer to the select board and to Nelson for that question.
Okay, comments, Town Administrator, did you want to comment on that particularly?
Is this on? Ultimately, the project and the grant funding is under the purview of the select board. So the select board will, delegate, certain responsibilities to, the appropriate department head or personnel to oversee the project.
Okay, comments come on the motion. I think, one more question.
Brad Hahn, 1 Brown Road in Townsend. So I'd like to say thank you to the Country Kids Playground for raising that money. That's awesome. A couple quick questions I have. I wanted to see potentially what other activities these grants might be able to go to. And the reason I'm asking that is because, I think if we had an unlimited treasure chest, spending $32,000 to be able to gain, it looks like somewhere in the amount of $350, maybe a little bit more than that, would be awesome. But when we're in a position where we're potentially closing schools in the district, losing kids in the town, I kind of look at this and say, hey, this is a nice to have. We have some necessities that we need to take care of. So what are some other areas that we might be able to allocate these grants to that might be more necessities? And then the second piece to this is, it's my understanding that Sterilite has put in quite a bit of money for previous ones. Have we approached Sterilite for maybe a donation in regards to this as well? Have we reached out to maybe some other programs that utilize the town and the resources the town have that are also nonprofits, where their kids and some of their maybe clients, if you will, would be able to benefit from this as well, to where that would lower our liability of the $32,000. I know there's probably some significant, I would say, red tape around that based on what we have to put in for the grants. But I just feel like, at this point, I'd like to see us kind of take a step back for a second. Let's see what happens with the school districts. Let's see if we can maybe get Sterilite to reinvest like they have in the past, and then maybe some of these grants could go towards some other things, and potentially we might not even have to close a school, which then I could see this being awesome for the kids in the community.
Okay, comments and questions come on the motion. I don't know, Erin, if you can respond to that, or...
Yeah, so the grants that we applied for are specifically for this playground. They cannot be used for anything else. If we do not use them for this playground, we forfeit the funds. If we do not vote for this $32,000, we already got an extension for this town meeting. If we do not vote for the $32,000 during this town meeting, then we lose the $100,000 in the park grant. So if we do not vote for it today, then we would be losing out on $100,000. We would still have the $250,000 grant. However, I don't know how far we could really get with that, especially since that is the grant that has to be used much quicker. So I think it would really put us in a little bit of a bind, but I do appreciate what you're saying, and I did not approach Sterilite. The funds must come from the town, so I don't know how we could really work through that. It might be, there might be some way to do it, but I'm not entirely sure on that one.
Okay, the answers come on the question, and I see one more hand, I think.
Mr. Moderator,
I'm sorry.
just wanted to
Laura.
back
Is it to reiterate what Erin said? Or, oh, okay. Well, I want to recognize this person first, and then I'll come to you and hopefully move it on.
Rochelle Bohm, 18 Woodland Drive. I'm also the head of CPAC for the NM District, which is Special Education Parents Advisory Council. With all due respect, my friend, I am in this area every day trying to fight for the schools, and I 100% agree with nobody wants the school closed, but we need to take care of all aspects of our community. That includes the seniors, that includes the schools, and that includes our youngest. This playground has been around, and it was a godsend for my son, but it has severely become an issue, like you had pointed out, and it needs to be replaced as a safety precaution for kids. It should be ADA compliant. It should be accessible, because there are so many kids in our community that are deserving of a playground where they can actually utilize it. And further, if we don't make this investment in the smallest kids, then what are we saying about our community? Only special demographics are important? I urge you all, it's $32,000. The people who have run this playground have been doing it of their own volition, their own time, their energy, volunteering and raising money. My son is 13, and they've been doing it at least that long, if not longer. And the town of Townsend has taken no responsibility or made any payments towards this. And quite honestly, while Sterilite donated it, and it's very generous of them, I don't think they should be our get-out-of-jail card, and we're always going with our hands out to them. We need to make this commitment to the youngest people of our community, and I would appreciate that you would all recognize this and throw them this little bone. Thank you.
Ms. Schifrin.
Okay, I just wanted to give a little bit of history. 25 years ago, it was the TBA, Townsend Business Association, along with NEBS, that donated the first few $1,000s that began the playground. And ever since then, years after that, they would give money to it each year. Now, I don't think that's happened for 5 or 10 years now, but it was not the town that was paying for the playground, ever to my knowledge. So we have grants now because of Erin, and she understands grants and how to get specific ones to get specific things done. And so we have a great opportunity. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Snaith? Move the question. Okay, motion's been made to move the question. This is not debatable. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. All right, the motion is before you, whether to approve these funds under Article 2. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Article 3, to see if the town, with the meeting's indulgence, I'm not going to read, we have a number of articles here to authorize the selectmen to sell pieces of property. I'm not going to read the entire articles to save some time unless someone objects. Okay, no objection, so I'm just going to introduce it. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in land for land located off Cherry Drive. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Schifrin.
I move that the town authorize the select board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated as 1 off Cherry Drive, shown on Assessor's Map 16, Block 44, Lot 0, or in any portion or portions thereof. 2 off Cherry Drive, shown on Assessor's Map 16, Block 49, Lot 114, and 3 off Cherry Drive, shown as Assessor's Map 16, Block 49, Lot 115, together with any interest appurtenance, therefore, on such terms and conditions as the board deems to be in the best interests of the town, and to execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate such said conveyance, and to authorize the board to take any and all actions deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in the connection thereof.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Anything to be said? Yep. Mrs. King? Go, okay. Oh.
Thank you. I'm just trying to figure out what would this land be used for? I mean, what is the purpose? Would the town buy this land? Is it tax title? Are there houses
Good,
on it?
okay, thank you. Good question. Ms. Schifrin?
Yeah, I can speak to the motion. Those 3 lots on Cherry Drive are basically, oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. Those 3 lots have not been built on. They all have abutters, and when town properties recommended that they be sold to the Board of Selectmen, that it be done, it was to increase some tax revenue to the town.
How so?
By selling it.
Okay, so...
It doesn't get any taxes right now.
Okay, so the purpose is to build upon the land?
No, not likely.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how would you get tax revenue off of land that you...
It's currently owned by the town. It's not deriving any tax revenue.
Oh, so it's
It was
owned by the
taken for
town?
tax title, am I correct? At one point?
Ms. Dunnett?
Thank you. Hello, we're selling the land. We currently own the land, and so we're selling it. We're gonna do an auction on all of these properties and sell them. Now, you can get taxes, whether it's buildable or not. You have real estate taxes, which has, houses on it. Then you have property tax as well. So there will be taxes on the land that will be coming in. Future revenue, once they're sold. So it's not like we're buying this land. Town of Townsend already owns it. We're going to put it up for auction, all of these.
Mr. Casa?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Counsel.
So maybe I can offer a bit of additional context as well. Municipalities do this with some frequency, where they identify properties that they've acquired. Some communities do it maybe on every 3-year or every 5-year period, where they determine properties they've acquired. Often they're acquired through tax title because taxes become due and they acquire them through a tax title process through the land court. And they determine that they'd rather have those properties go back on the tax rolls. And so they usually use an auction process to offer these properties for sale. They're required to follow state law with respect to procurement and advertising the availability of the properties. Sometimes these properties are buildable and they can be developed. Very often they're not. Very often they're undersized parcels. And so you say, well, then what value are they? Well, they might be of some value to, say, an abutter that wants additional property to increase their lot size to maybe make their lot conforming, to give them the ability to do things on their lot they couldn't do today. Or maybe they just want to increase the size of their backyard, or they want some assurance that nobody's going to build there in the future if they think something could be done. And so often properties like this are acquired by nearby property owners, but sometimes somebody will do some due diligence and determine that the lot is buildable, or they think that they can get some relief to make it buildable, and they'll acquire it for that purpose. But this process, not just with this Article 3, but with several of the articles to follow, in fact, about a dozen of them or so, are similar properties that were acquired most through tax title that the town is attempting to place back on the tax rolls so they can generate revenue for the town.
Thank you, Mr. Costas. Yep.
Well, thank you very much for explaining that to me. I appreciate that. I noticed that there were other articles similar to this, and my question is, if some of this is buildable, this is what I've been saying out loud to a lot of people. I like Townsend. A lot of people grew up here, love Townsend. A lot of people move here, love Townsend. We're relatively still a small town, and this is a wonderful place to grow up. I grew up in a town called Dudley, which is similar. If we build on all the buildable lots there are in Townsend, we're not going to be as nice of a town as we'd like, as it was before. I have no objection to progress, but when you build up every single spare inch, acre or whatever, you're going to end up like Newton. That used to be a quaint little place. You're going to end up a place that you don't recognize. And then you're going to need more schools, and you can't build another school. If you close a school, you can't build another school for another 10 years. So what are you going to do with those kids?
All right, comments come on the motion, and Ms. Schifrin.
I was just going to
Yep.
All right. So I'm not sure how long that you lived here, but at one point in time, we were under 10,000 residents. Today, we are under 9. We've not grown. We've had moratoriums, which have stopped the growth of the town, and now we're having a little bit of growth, but that's only in property, not in residents. The high school is newer. This past year, we had 40 less students than we had the year before, just to give you a little bit of background. And most of the properties that you'll see come before you today are owned by the town. They are not getting any tax revenue. They're not necessarily buildable. Town properties also had a number of properties that we own turned over to conservation, or one is being recommended to go to Fish and Wildlife. So things like that. It's not going to cause, what you're seeing before you tonight is not going to cause growth to the town.
Comments come on the motion, and anything new, Ms. Lord?
Thank you. So I'd like that in writing. Just joking. But what guarantee do we have that whatever is buildable, we're not going to keep changing the zoning laws and make it all these little developments like Timberley Park or smaller? What guarantee do we have?
I don't know if anyone wants to answer that. I would say there's no guarantee. I mean, the town is being asked to let these properties be sold by the select board, and it's anybody's guess what will happen as far as whether the purchaser uses it because they want to add to their lot, or they can build on it, or they want to donate it for conservation. It's up to the new buyer. But
is this auction process similar to what it used to be like in the early 90s? Is it similar auction process, or is it different?
I'm not sure about the auction process, what the town contemplates.
Oh, you know, it used to be the banks that would be foreclosing on things, and the banks would auction them, correct? Is that how it used to be? Or is it always like this?
No, the
Was it
town
always like
already
this?
owns these lots.
Right, no, but I'm just wondering about how you get tax title houses. I mean, it used to be the banks that would auction them off, right? Am I
No,
incorrect? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
The town can take property for failure to pay taxes, and that
Oh.
apparently is what happened with these lots.
Okay. I was just wondering what the process used to be, because I moved here in the late 80s, and I just remember bank-owned auction.
Yeah, a different thing.
Different thing?
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much for entertaining my questions.
Mr. Snaith?
Move the question.
Motion's been made to move the question. I will cut off debate. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Mr. Snaith?
Many articles seem to be the same. Could we consider them under one vote rather than going through each one, or is there difference that we need to go through each one?
I think they are different parcels, and I would not entertain a motion to sever them, because there may be different reasons why the people don't want to sell those lots. So, hopefully, once the preliminary concerns or questions have been resolved, we can go through these quickly. But that being said, the motion is before you. I'm sorry. That was a point of order. We already voted it. Ayes had it. Okay. Article 4, and this one is going to be easy. You'll like this one, Joe. Article 4. Is there a motion on
Mr.
Article
Moderator,
4?
point of order. It was the moving of the question that passed. The question itself has not been called
Oh, I'm
yet.
sorry. I'm sorry. So, you threw me off. All right. Not hard to do. All right. The debate has been cut off. All those in favor of the motion on Article 3, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. I would have to say unanimous vote. I didn't hear any noes. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to convey a fee simple for property located off of South Row Road. Is there a motion?
I move that the town take no action on Article 4. Second.
Okay, motion is made to take no action at this time. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to convey fee simple or lesser interest in land or buildings located on land located off of Adams Road. Assessors map 27, block 33, lot 0. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Schifrin.
I move that the town authorize the select board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated off Adams Road, shown on Assessor's Map 27, Block 33, Lot 0, or in any portion of the portions thereof, together with any interest pursuant thereto, or such terms, conditions as the board deems to be in the best interest or interest of the town, and execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate said conveyance, and to authorize the board to take any and all actions deemed by it to be necessary or pertinent in the connection thereof.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Therian.
I'm not in favor or opposed to these articles.
Bob, you want to hold the mic up?
Yeah, I'm not in favor or opposed to these articles, but I think the challenge before the audience here is we don't know much about these properties. And whether there's existing structures on them, how many square feet or acreage there is. So I feel handicapped in making a decision on how to vote on this. And to have a little more background on what each of these lots are would give us a better idea of what potential it could have, what benefit it could have to the town, what benefit it could have for conservation, what benefit it could have for Parks and Rec. So we don't know anything about these lots, and so...
Point well taken, Mr. Therian. I
Thank
think
you.
Ms. Schifrin might
Yes.
be able to address
Okay,
some
for
of that.
all the lots that are before you today, they have been discussed for many meetings at town properties. They're owned by the town, they are not deriving any income, and they have been taken for tax title, and which is why we have them. But for the last 3 or 4 years, we have recommended from the town properties to the Board of Selectmen to get rid of the properties and bring tax revenue into the town. So you sell it, you get money for the property, and then those new owners of the property are now paying taxes on the property we're selling. To my knowledge, none of these have buildings on them. They are just land that we now own that we don't get money for. It's not something that just happened. It's the committees have made the recommendations by doing their due diligence.
Ms. Kell.
And I agree with everything that Laurie just said, but let me just say that I did take the liberty to look up most of these on the assessor's map because I had the same question that you had about these, and I'm not on town properties. This one is, it says it's off Adams Road. It's near Highland Street on the corner of Highland and Adams, kind of in that area, and it's 1.2 acres, if the assessor's maps are correct. So you would have to look each of these up on the assessor's map, which can be done on the town website, and you can see exactly where they are and how large they are. So I did look up most of these, and the one that we're discussing right now, 1.2 acres near Highland Street on the corner.
Now, if it was buildable, in other words, it could carry a house. If
However,
somebody did do that, but
I
it
will
has
say that this one's
issues.
pretty wet.
Yeah. And that's it. You have to know that the people who served on the Town Properties Committee looked at all the properties, either did drive-bys or site visits, investigated with the assessor's office. So it was a joint effort.
All right, comments come on the motion. I know I saw a hand over there, on the floor.
Thank you. Zach Zufelt, Clement Road. So which of these properties are buildable lots?
We
Question comes on the
say that any
motion.
of them are.
Say again?
We can't say that any of them are buildable.
Which
For-
ones
for-
are potentially buildable lots?
Like I just said, this one that would have been grandfathered, so that one is a wet lot. They're good, it could be, but they're mostly good for abutters. So hopefully that's who
So
ends
none
up
of
buying.
these are potential buildable lots
That we could say, because we've done no testing.
according to our bylaws?
They're grandfathered, yes. They would be according to the bylaws.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Questions come on the motion. Up in the balcony. Let's see. Mr. Miller. Is the mic on, Kev?
John, can we go back to Article 4 for 1 second?
No. Okay. Sorry. Article 5. Is there anything to be said further on this property? I mean, you can move to reconsider if you want, Mr. Miller, but I didn't mean to shut you off entirely, but we just can't go back. Say again?
That's why we took no action.
Oh, okay.
He's correct.
You're right. It was sold to the state. That's why they took no action. That's the backstory. All right. I think we're ready to vote on Article 5 if we want to get out before midnight. All those in favor of the motion on Article 5, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. All right, I'm going to rule that as a two-thirds vote by voice vote. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in land also situated off Adams Road. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings therein situated off Adams Road, shown on Assessor's Map 27, Block 34, Lot 0, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with any interest appurtenant thereto, on such terms and conditions as the Board deems to be in the best interest or interests of the town, and to execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate said conveyance, and to authorize the Board to take any and all actions deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in connection therewith.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Can someone give a brief description of this property, perhaps, to avoid...
All right, this
Ms.
is,
Kell?
again, you're looking at my quick lookups when the warrant came out. This is in front of a new house on Adams Road, and it is .459 acres. That's all I can tell you.
Not mistaken, it's the old Harnoy's property. Anything else to be said? Appears we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article, where is it?
7.
We're on to 7 already. Okay, Article 7. See if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to convey fee simple or lesser interest in land located off of Whitney Lane, shown on Assessor's Map 28, Block 12, Lot 0. Is there a motion?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Schiffer.
To see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated off Whitney Lane, shown on Assessor's Map 28, Block 12, Lot 0, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with interest thereto, I'm not using that word, and such terms and conditions as the Board deems to be in the best interest or interest of the town, and to execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate said conveyance, and to authorize the Board to take any and all actions deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in connection with, or take any other action thereto. I read the article.
Yeah, you don't need that part. Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Motion is made
My first time.
and seconded.
Do you want me to say something?
Laura,
about
really?
this one?
All the town meetings you've been to? Come on. Okay. No, there's a motion. Ms. Kell, can you elaborate on the...
Yes, I can. This is at the junction of Brookline and Brookline Road and Dudley Road, up by the police station. And it's right at that junction. It's like the point of land there, and it's .505 acres. Again, don't take this as God's truth, but this is what I looked up, and that's what I saw. So,
All right. There's some information on that article, that motion. Is there anything else to be said? Any questions? Appears we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 7, please say aye.
aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in land located off of Meadow Road, shown on Assessor's Map 28, Block 38, Lot 0. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated off Meadow Road, shown on Assessor's Map 28, Block 38, Lot 0, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with any interests appurtenant thereto, on such terms and conditions as the board deems to be in the best interest or interests of the town, and to execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate said conveyance, and to authorize the board to take any and all actions deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in connection therewith.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded on Article 8. Anything to be said? We're ready to vote. All those, no, I'm sorry, Ms. Lord.
Yes.
Article 8.
Description of that one? Could you give a brief description? Could you humor me and give me a brief description of that lot as well?
Ms. Kell, would you indulge us?
Well, it's about 1.5 acres, and it's mostly wet. It's on Meadow Road.
Okay. I have a secondary question.
Ms. Lord.
Thank you. Now, I know that some of these are really exceedingly small lots, and, I mean, we've gone from I think, correct me if I'm wrong, we've gone from 3 acres for a house, and sometimes it seems like it's shrinking. So at what point do we, like, not build on a lot, the size of a lot? Like, how small do you go to put a house?
I don't think anybody really, if someone wants to try to field that, but I mean, that's a question that's beyond the scope, I think, of the debate tonight, to try to figure out how and when a lot is buildable. This is just directed to whether or not the town should sell this land or not.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other comments or questions? And that's a good point, Sandra, but, you know, sort of beyond our scope here. And it appears we have no questions, comments. I think we're ready to vote on Article 8. All those in favor of the motion on Article 8, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. It's unanimous. Article 9, see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to convey fee simple or lesser interest in land located off of Meadow Road, map 28, block 49, lot 6. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Schifrin.
I move that the town authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated off Meadow Road, shown on Assessor's Map 28, Block 49, Lot 6, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with any interest thereto, on two terms and conditions as the board deems to be in the best interests or interests of the town, and to effectuate any and all arrangements and documents to effectuate and said conveyance, and to authorize the board to take any and all action deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in connection therewith.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded on Article 9. Anything to be said? Oh, and yes, Ms. Kell, would you?
I can give you this one, but it's my last
You've got-
one.
you
After
got one
that,
more?
I probably have to put dinner or something. 0.918 acres, and it's again on Meadow Road.
Okay.
Pretty much wetlands.
Yep, sir.
Gabriel Kelly of Adams Road, also on a butter to this. I can confirm it's quite wet. Has the Select Board contemplated an auction process and/or timeline for these properties?
Okay, question comes on the motion. Is there a timeline for the auction of these properties? Ms. Dunnett?
Yes. Hello. So we're hoping to do the auction within the next 5 months. So we're going to hire an auctioneer company, one that we've used in the past, and because we're hoping to get the revenue in sooner than later. So the goal is to have it done by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, 2025.
All right, comments come on the question on the motion. Anything else to be said? Appears we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 9, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 10, see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to convey fee simple or lesser interest in land located off of Edward Road, shown on Assessors Map 42, Block 1, Lot 54. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that
Ms.
the
Kell.
town authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated off Edward Road, shown on Assessors Map 42, Block 1, Lot 54, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with any interests pertinent thereto, on such terms and conditions as the board deems to be in the best interest or interests of the town, and to execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate said conveyance, and to authorize the board to take any and all action deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in connection therewith.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded on Article 10. Any description?
I can speak to this one. It's a half-acre lot, or less than a half-acre. It's less than a half-acre lot on Edward Road, and many years ago, the Housing Authority actually tried to get Habitat to build a house there, and there was no success with that one, so it was recommended to be sold.
Okay, comments come on the motion. Any other questions, comments? Appear to be none. I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 10, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. And the ayes have it by more than 2/3. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in land situated off Worcester Road, shown on Assessors Map 49, Block 0, Lot 0. I'm sorry, Block 20, Lot 0. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Moderator. I move that the town authorize the Select Board to convey a fee simple or lesser interest in the land and/or buildings thereon situated off Worcester Road, shown on Assessors Map 49, Block 20, Lot 0, or in any portion or portions thereof, together with any interests thereto, on such terms and conditions as the board deems to be in the best interests or interests of the town, and to execute any and all agreements and documents to effectuate said conveyance, and to authorize the board to take any and all action deemed by it to be necessary or prudent in connection thereof.
Second.
Okay, motion's made on and seconded on Article 11. Any description here, Ms. Kell or Ms. Schifrin?
No, it's off Worcester Road. I don't know much more about that. It would just be in a butter.
Oh, okay. Mr. Hayes?
Yeah, Don Hayes, this is 1.001 acres on that size.
Thank you, Don.
And Mr. Moderator, if I could.
Sorry, Mr. Costas.
It appears that this property was acquired for the sum of $0, which I presume means it was acquired through tax title, though it doesn't say that specifically within the assessor's records, but it's been owned by the town since October 14th of 1972.
I was still in high school. All right. Any other comments on Article 11? Yep, sir?
Hi, Colby Streeter, 230 Wallace Hill Road. Okay. Colby Streeter, 230 Wallace Hill Road. I've only done a quick search on this property, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, could you hold the mic up, sir? We can't hear you.
All right, I'll just speak louder.
Yeah.
This property is right on the rail line, old rail line, it looks like. I'm wondering, considering that the town has little developable land in the center of the town, if this property could be considered for its civic function or what it could provide to the town, rather than selling it.
Okay, comments come on the motion, questioning whether the town might want to keep this parcel. Is there anything else to be said?
In discussion in the Properties Committee, no, there was no desire to keep the land. If we thought that the town should have the land for keeping it in some way, it would have gone to conservation. Or in some cases, which has happened in the past, some of you probably don't remember, but the last 3 or 4 years, we've actually gone through this process a number of times and have approved properties to sell. So also the Housing Authority received, the Housing Trust, excuse me, received land also through the same process. So if it's here, we don't want it.
I did look at the property map.
Sir, I'm sorry, was it Mr. Souter? I didn't quite catch your last name. What is
Streeter.
Streeter.
It does look like it's right on Worcester Road, Worcester Street, whatever it is, and the corner of the rail line. It looks like it has frontage right on that road. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm asking if it can be considered, because it does look like it's developable. Thank you.
Okay, comments come on the motion. Is there any other comments or questions? Appear to be none. No. Okay, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 11, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it by 2/3. Article 12, to see if the town, oh, we're off of the real estate binge. Town will vote to transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $13,940.25 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the replacement of 2 copiers located in the Select Board office and the Town Hall mailroom, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move
Ms.
that
Kell.
the town transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $13,940.25 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the replacement of 2 copiers located in the Select Board office and the Town Hall mailroom.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded on Article 12. Anything to be said? Not seeing any, I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it by majority. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $1,250 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the replacement of a printer, copier, scanner in the accounting office and paper shredding services, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that
Sure.
the town transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $1,250 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the replacement of a printer, copier, scanner in the accounting office and paper shredding services.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded on Article 13. Any questions or comments? Because we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 13, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. It's unanimous. 14, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the treasury the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with implementation of a new town charter, or take any action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town take no action on Article 14.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to take no action. Is there any comments about that, reasons for that? They found the money. Isn't that good? They found the money, we don't have to spend it. Well, we do have to spend it, but they found it. All right, is there anything else to be said? Despite my wisecracks, Mr. Therian.
Where does this come from? What?
Where did they find the money, I think the question is.
No,
It was found in the budget for that department.
They have money in an account that they can use to pay for this. They don't have to vote for it.
well, is there something wrong with our charter?
No,
Oh, it
no,
was the
it's,
coding.
they have the money to do what they propose to do, right? Madam Clerk?
So the new charter was voted in 2021, I believe, and it was finally passed by the legislature. Once it was passed, it had to be published in general code and on the website. And the cost was not as much as we thought it was going to be, so we had money in the budget to cover it. This was just in case there wasn't enough money.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're voting on taking no action. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Unanimous. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $5,000 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the wages of the alternate building commissioner, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Schifrin.
I move that the town transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $2,500 for the purpose of supplementing the fiscal year alternate building commissioner budget for the costs associated with the wages of an alternate building commissioner.
Okay, motions. Say again?
Yes, we don't need it, so
Right, the motion was less
we
than the
revised it.
article amount.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Anything to be said? Looks we're ready to vote. Mr. Therian?
2,500.
That's the motion, 2,500. Anything else? I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $6,605 for the purpose of funding the costs associated with the annual audit of the town's workers' compensation program, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Kell.
I move that the town transfer from free cash in the treasury the sum of $6,605 for the purpose of supplementing the costs associated with the annual audit of the town's workers' compensation program in the FY25 town insurance budget.
Motion's made and
Second.
seconded. Anything to be said? I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 17. I am not going to read this entire article, with your permission, but it is to see if the town will vote to amend its zoning bylaws entitled Definitions in Article 2 and in Article 9 entitled Special Provisions. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend Townsend zoning bylaws, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, Article 2, entitled Definitions, and Article 9, entitled Special Provisions, as printed in the warrant.
Second? All right, folks, you've heard the motions. Everyone has a copy of the warrant, so you can see for yourself it is being proposed as written in the warrant, so we don't have to read over again. And I think there will be a report, but Mr. Snaith, you had a question? Mr. Therian?
I'm Robert Theron. I'm a member of the planning board here. And so this is a long-standing issue that the planning board's been working with. So I'll try to give you a summary of what it's all about. but primarily in our archaic bylaw, the planning board hasn't been, it's an overwhelming task to go through the entire bylaw and bring it up to date. So what the planning board's been doing is taking specific things that have been problematic and trying to correct them and improve them and make them more workable. So in that realm of things, we started focus on the ADU unit, which is an accessory dwelling unit. So we've been working on this particular topic for about 3 years. This is prior to the state statute now, the executive order, that is making accessory dwelling units by right. So the old bylaw, you had to go for a special permit before a planning board. You were granted an accessory dwelling unit based on a hardship. And so what was happening was people were building, got to a planning board, presented a hardship, had a site plan review, and then they were granted a special permit, which means it's special, for a very special condition and circumstance. So in the course of time, different individuals started getting these permits and building accessory units on them and finding out something happened before the unit was completed, and the original intent of the accessory unit was for accommodate a family member or whatever, is vacated because it was permitted for that specific function. So they end up finding they exhausted all this money building the unit and could not rent it. And then there was an exception. You could rent it, but you had to rent it through the Fair Housing Program, which had their own restrictions and requirements. So we had at least two that I remember, similar kind of problems that came in. So what you're seeing before you tonight is work that we were doing 3 years ago before Martha Healy enacted this accessory dwelling unit by right. And what that says is that any single family property owner who occupies the house they're in can build an accessory unit by right. In other words, no special permit, no coming to a planning board. It's all subject to what would normally happen when you applied for a building permit. All the other requirements are there. Setbacks, heights, the requirement. So what happened is our planning board prepared adjustments to the old bylaw to accommodate the problems we were having in town. So that was all done prior to the governor's mandate.
Bob, if you don't mind, I think we also need the report from the planning board that you held a hearing and that you.
Right.
So that's a preliminary to discussion, but I think.
Right. So I'm going to read the report, but I wanted to explain the history and the background of why we got to where we did.
Yeah, I think you've done that very well.
Thank you. All right, so the Article 17, which I'm going to read to you, this is a planning board report for the special town meeting. Article 17, accessory dwelling units in residential districts. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the planning board had a public hearing on January 9th, just a few days ago, 2025, to review a proposal submitted by the Planning Board to amend zoning bylaw Article 9, Section 145-36, accessory apartments in residential districts by replacing the existing Section 36 and replacing with the following 145-36 accessory dwelling units in residential districts. The Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend adoption of the proposed amendments for the following reasons. One, the proposed amendment aims to update the language in this section of the bylaw to ensure compliance with the Massachusetts Affordable Housing Act and its regulations regarding accessory dwelling units, ADUs, in residential districts. So that's the recent state mandate. The proposed amendment only applies to accessory dwelling units that exceed the criteria provided statutorily and now allowed by right in single-family zoning districts of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The application for the construction of new accessory dwelling units permitted by right under the provisions of Massachusetts Affordable Housing Act will be reviewed by the building commissioner. AD units that exceed or deviate from the criteria for by right approval will undergo a modified abbreviated site plan approval process conducted by the planning board. ADUs that are proposed within the provisions of the state law and are built inside the existing residential structure will not require a site plan review process. The planning board aimed to streamline the process for homeowners by remaining involved in reviews where certain conditions apply or were met. So that's the planning board's report. What I can say to you about that, I gave you a little background behind it. And the actual bylaw establishes some requirements. So basically, you still have to meet all the other zoning bylaw requirements in doing that. It does restrict, so we had a lot of discussing different scenarios. What if it's a two-family house? What if it's a three-family house? So to be very clear, it's for the owner of the building, okay? And the way it's been addressed so far, the maximum size can be 900 square feet. And if your house is, that's the maximum size. Otherwise, it's only 50% of the square footage of the existing house. So that's pretty much the only requirement there is. What you read here, there are exceptions. If somebody has a need or a condition that is beyond that standard, then we're back to the old way with the site plan review. And I have to go to the planning board. So
Okay, Bob, I think that summarizes it pretty well, and even though we didn't read it, I think everyone's had a chance to familiarize themselves with it, and so I'd like to throw it open to see if there's any questions, particularly. Ms. Lord, we have the mic down in the front, please. Thanks.
I just have a quick question. I didn't understand what RA or RB district refers to. I just was wondering what those meant.
I believe RA districts require 3 acres and RB requires 2 acres, basically. They're residential districts.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else to be said? We've heard the report of the planning board. And you did say you voted in favor of it, right, Bob? I missed that. Okay. Appears we're ready to vote. All those, and this is only requires a majority vote now due to changes in the zoning laws where it deals with housing. A majority vote is enough. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 18, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code. Article 9, entitled Special Provisions, as follows. I'm not going to read that, and I presume there's a motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend Townsend's zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code. Sorry. Start again. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend Townsend's zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, Article 9, entitled Special Provisions, as printed in the warrant.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded on Article 18. Is there a report? Mr. Therian.
Oh, thank you. I have to read this. This is a report from to the special town meeting from the planning board based on our last meeting, which was January 9th of this year. In accordance with the general laws, Chapter 48, Section 5, the planning board held a duly noticed and published public hearing on January 9th, 2025 to review the proposal submitted to the planning board to amend zoning bylaw Article 9, 145-42, accessory apartments in residential districts by adding that no site plan review special permit shall be required for accessory apartments constructed in accordance with 145-36. Accessory apartments subject to site plan approval shall instead be subject to 145-42.1 of this bylaw. The planning board voted unanimously to recommend adoption of the proposed amendment for the following reasons. The proposed amendment aims to update the language in the section of the bylaw to ensure compliance with the Massachusetts Affordable Housing Act and its regulations regarding accessory dwelling units, ADUs, and residential district. The proposed amendment creates a new abbreviated non-discretionary review known as the site plan approval for accessory dwelling units that exceed the criteria provided statutorily. The proposed site plan review process in this article is generic and can be applied to other non-discretionary by right allowed uses in the town zoning bylaw. The site plan approval process ensures proposed development complies with local zoning regulations, focuses on layouts, design, and community impact. The special permit granting authority may approve projects with conditions but cannot deny them outright. This differs from the site plan review special permit process, which requires a public hearing for uses not typically permitted under current zoning bylaws to ensure neighborhood compatibility. Thank you.
Okay, we've heard the planning board's report. Any other questions, comments on Article 18?
Mr. Moderator?
Yeah, Mr. Costas?
Just for purposes of confirming the quantum of vote, which is something you had referred to a bit earlier in the context of the previous article, the reduced quantum per legislative changes to Chapter 40A that allow certain zoning bylaw amendments to be adopted by simple majority vote instead of 2/3. I just want to clarify, because of the report that was read by the planning board, something that was said was that this site plan review or site plan approval process that is before the body at present could be applied, I think is what the language of the report said, could be applied to other uses in the future. That would require a further amendment of the zoning bylaw. But at present, in the form that's before you tonight, it is only being applied to the accessory dwelling units that you just approved in the preceding warrant article. This is simply a process to allow for the planning board to review certain ADUs that is a non-discretionary process. So I just want to make that clear, because that's what allows this to be adopted by way of a simple majority vote as opposed to a 2/3 vote.
Thank you, Town Council. Ms. Messing.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Heidi Messing, Proctor Road. I just want to comment, I'm sorry, I got to put my glasses on. I'm looking at subsection, looks like B4. It's requiring, hold on a second. Sorry about that. It's requiring that the site plans be prepared by, well, site plans aren't prepared by architects, but civil engineers registered. Okay, I can understand that it requires a survey. But then you've got the building elevations have to be prepared by a certified architect. I think that this is putting quite a cost burden on anybody that wants to apply. These people are not cheap to hire. So I think it would be appropriate to add in here that the requirement for registered professionals may be waived at the planning board's discretion. For instance, I'm a drafter. I can draft plans all day long for a two-family. You don't need an architect for that. A two-family dwelling does not require architectural services in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I think this is a little bit of an overreach.
Comments come on the motion. Mr. Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So your point is well taken, and if I can speak for the planning board, because I was in attendance at multiple meetings at which this was discussed, that was a topic of some discussion. There was a concern, and again, please correct me, members of the planning board, if I'm misstating any of this, but there was a concern that, remember, site plan approval is only being required for certain types of ADUs, specifically ADUs that are resulting in an increase in the footprint, the size of an existing structure, or an entirely new structure on the lot. And there was some concern that allowing that to be done without the involvement of engineers and architects could be problematic. There was also a recognition that it's not necessarily always going to be problematic, and that it does impose a cost burden and an additional inconvenience on applicants. And so to your point regarding a waiver, if you continue to read within the warrant and you look at section E on the next page, you will see that they have worked in, and I drafted some of the language here, a provision that says that the planning board, in its reasonable discretion, can indeed reduce, alter, or waive any or all of the previous site plan requirements if the applicant demonstrates good cause. So the intent there is to give the planning board that flexibility, recognizing that not every project is going to require engineered site plans, architect certified architectural drawings.
Okay, comments and clarification comes on the motion. I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 18, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 19. To see if the town will vote to amend its zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, Article 9, entitled Special Provisions, Section 54.1, entitled Age Restricted Development, as, I won't read the rest of it, as, is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town amend Townsend zoning bylaws being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, Article 9, entitled Special Provisions, Section 54.1, entitled Age Restricted Development, as printed in the warrant.
Motion's been made and seconded on Article 19. Any questions or comments? And is there a planning board report?
This is a report from the Planning Board. In accordance with General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, the Planning Board held a public hearing on January 9th, 2025 to review the proposal submitted by the Planning Board to amend zoning bylaw Article 9, 145-54.1, age-restricted developments. In accordance, the Planning Board voted unanimously to recommend adoption of the proposed amendment for the following reasons. The proposed amendment will correct the language in this section of the bylaw needed to unencumber the applicant and the town from the requirements of processing and holding conservation restrictions on small parcels of open spaces. The proposed amendment will reduce the acreage from 2 acres to 1 acre in the spirit of citing such developments within walking distances of town amenities and local attractions. This reduction of lot size will not exempt developers from following the same rules and meet the same requirements as they would for any other type of permit issued by the town. The proposed amendment for adding Section 8 will allow the planning board to use reasonable discretion in its review to work with the developer and grant reductions, alteration, or waiver on basic development design requirements if said section would advance the purpose of this section and further public interest. Eliminating Section 5 of the bylaw, which pertains to waiving minimum setbacks requirements between buildings and internal lots, will streamline the wording as this issue will be generally covered by the provisions of this section. So in summary, this is a special section of our bylaw for age-restricted development. It was a special provision in our bylaw so that we could find housing for our own aging people. So in that pursuit is why they're asking for the reduction in the lot requirements, the size per unit. They're also asking for variations to have more flexibility in setbacks and give more relief to promote such type projects. This is for that specific use. And part of this has to do with other requirements that developers have to encounter, such as, when you disturb so much earthwork and stuff. So all of those burden the cost of development. So this was designed to relieve the developers from a lot of those things. So I supported it as a member of the planning board. I have my own opinion of it, but anyway, that's what I have to say. Thanks.
So that was the report of the planning board that approved the proposed bylaw, right, Bob? Okay. Ms. Kell.
I have two questions for the planning board. First question is, what in this bylaw makes this age restricted? How is this, is there anything, what makes this bylaw age restricted? What restricts the age of the development?
The intent of the bylaw is to provide housing for people over 55 years of age. In other words, it's not to induce family housing. It restricts the number of bedrooms that it can be. So the intent was, in the beginning, when this was first allowed in your bylaw, when you voted it in years ago, was to support housing for people so they wouldn't have to leave town or whatever. And they're looking at try to have a profile of somebody over 55 years old and find a way that they could stay in town and have housing for them. So these age-restricted housing includes things like features there that are not in normal developments. No stairs. Handicap
Bob,
bathrooms.
If you allow me to interrupt, because I think maybe some of this will be cleared up by the fact that this is an amendment to the existing bylaw. I think Ms. Kell's question was, how is it age restricted? If I can speak for you, Ms. Kell.
that is the
I don't
question.
see anything in here that says what age it's restricted as, but is it in fact in the existing bylaw or provision as to what
Yes, it
age
is.
restriction
Yeah.
there is?
Right.
So there is like a deed restriction?
Yes, there's a general description of the intent of the bylaw, okay? And a general description that are more specific requirements for the development proper, okay?
I see universal design principles in the bylaw, but I don't see anything that restricts the age other than the word age restricted. So that's my comment.
I'm going to recognize
Refer to
Mr.
town
Costa.
council.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. So I'll concede that the term age-restricted is probably somewhat of a misnomer. There are two types of age-restricted development bylaws that we see in Massachusetts. There are true restricted development bylaws that require the placement of some form of restriction on the property, typically limiting occupancy to at least one person in each unit being over the age of 55 or sometimes 62. And then there are bylaws that are similar in form, but somewhat different in function because they don't require that sort of permanent restriction. They do require age-appropriate design. They typically limit the number of bedrooms. They encourage common meeting areas within the community to allow for older individuals to gather and to interact with one another. They disincentivize multi-story development. But there is no explicit requirement. And this bylaw, as it exists in the current form, even as it's on the books today, without these proposed amendments, does not require any form of permanent restriction with respect to age. I happen to have been involved at the time, back in 2021, with the planning board when the planning board was discussing this bylaw and prior to its adoption at the annual town meeting. And that was a point of discussion at the time, whether the board wanted to include that form of permanent restriction. And in fact, I think in one of the earlier drafts, that restriction existed. And ultimately, the decision was made by the board at that time to remove it. So to answer your question, there is nothing in the baseline bylaw that exists on the books today, nor would there be in the revised version that's proposed tonight that would officially and permanently restrict occupancy to individuals of a certain age.
All right, comments come on the questions on the article. Ms. Schifrin?
I have a question then for, maybe I'm not remembering this correctly, but the age-restricted developments that have come before the planning board thus far, and we've had 3, they're all going under a state guideline or the state law for age-restricted. So there's specific documents that the state makes them have as their bylaw or their association. Similar to that, there's 55 and over like mobile home parks. They go by state guideline, and their documents have to have that verbiage in it. They have to go by it. So my understanding is that's what we have done so far, is go by the state guideline, and it's 55 and over. The people that I've talked to that are doing it, they're using the documents of the state.
May I respond, Mr.
Yeah,
Moderator?
Mr.
Through you?
Mr. Costa.
So that may very well be correct. There are both state and federal subsidy and grant programs that developers may qualify for to build certain type of housing. And that housing may be age-restricted housing, whether it be limited to individuals 55 plus or 62 plus. And certainly there's nothing within this bylaw that prohibits an applicant, a developer, from utilizing those programs. The only counterpoint to that is that there's also nothing in this bylaw that requires a developer to use one of those programs. And so you are correct that the intent is, the title is age-restricted development. The obvious intent, it expresses the intent in the applicability section where it says that these developments are intended for people 55 or over, and talks about buildings and site improvements providing for guest parking, public meeting areas, universal design, and as you dig deeper into the bylaw, it talks about this concept of age-appropriate design. So the obvious intent or objective of the bylaw is to encourage the development of housing that is appropriate for older populations. The subsidy program, the grant program the developer might utilize is sort of up to the developer.
So did we leave out
Hold
something?
on, Ms. Schifrin, if you don't mind. We've got some other questions, too. Mr. Rahala, and I know there's some folks on the floor here.
Mr. Moderator,
Go ahead.
there appears to be a handout that purports to describe a 5/8/2021 annual town meeting adoption of Article 23. In the wording of that, I believe that's what this present last article is addressing the amendments to. I point out, I believe in section B, applicability, there is a subsection that describes an age-restricted development is intended for people age 55 or over, and then it goes on to describe them. The following section is basic requirements. Subsection 1, an age-restricted development shall comply with the following density regulations. Is the handout accurate as to what the motion is changing? And the question that the floor is trying to now address is, I believe, what does the reference mean within the article that was adopted in 21?
Questions come on the motion. Mr. Costa?
Would you like me to address that? Through you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Rahala is referring to the appropriate handout. It is the handout that is entitled Section 145-54-1, Age-Restricted Development, and it does have in brackets and in bold that it was added at the May 8th, 2021 annual town meeting by Article 23. So what you see in this document, it's 2 double-sided pages, 3 pages in total. What you see that is not in bold text is the language of the bylaw as it exists today on the books, what was adopted back in 2021. What is stricken through and what is in bold, that reflects the changes that are being proposed as part of this Article 19. So the question that arose a moment ago and that we've been addressing, this issue of whether the age-restricted development bylaw requires a permanent restriction, that's actually not something that is arguably within the scope of the article that's before the town meeting tonight, because nothing being proposed tonight is going to add or subtract from the restrictive nature of the bylaw. What is being proposed tonight is reducing the minimum size requirement, is moving the waiver provision, is eliminating a conservation restriction requirement. These are the changes that are proposed tonight as part of Article 19. Having said that, the question was a fair one. The question is asking about what the age-restricted development bylaw requires, even as it exists today. And I stand by the answer I gave before, which is even with these provisions that speak to the intent being that an age-restricted development would be for individuals 55 and older, and prescribing density regulations and speaking about age-appropriate design, that may well be the intent, and that is, I think, what we've seen happen with the 1 or 2 developments that have been presented to the planning board under this bylaw to date. Having said that, nothing in this bylaw explicitly and expressly requires that a formal restriction be drafted and recorded in the deed history to the property, stating that this property, once developed, has to be utilized for individuals 55 or 62 years of age or older. And again, that was a purposeful, I think, a purposeful decision by the planning board back in 2021 when this document was adopted.
Mr. Costa, would it be fair to say that the intention is for age-restricted housing, but if a project is approved, people who are under age 55 could buy the house?
I think that's a fair statement. I will say that even under some of the federal programs or state programs, there is no restriction necessarily on having individuals under the age residing there or even, say, inheriting a home after the passing on of somebody over the age of 55 or 62. But you are correct that there is a potential that a project could be built and that nobody within a particular housing unit would be over the age of 55 or 62.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kell?
Just to explain why I asked that question, I agree with the changes 2 to 5, but I have a concern about changing the, going from 2 acres to 1 acre, if in fact it's not, definitely age restricted. Beyond that, I think 2 and 5 through 5, those changes, CR makes no sense in this case. So I'm good with those, but I have a concern if we don't have a restriction on it and we go to 1 acre and we have 8 townhouses, that we wind up with a lot of apartment-type housing in town in neighborhoods that aren't necessarily zoned for apartment-type housing. So I would be more comfortable with this if there were particular areas in town where you mentioned walkability, where you went to 1 acre. But the only restriction is you have to have town water, and we're adding more and more town water in town, as we should. So it winds up being this, I don't know, I disagree with 1, and I do agree with the others, so I would have to vote against this only for that reason. So that's
Okay,
all
comments come on the motion. I know there were some folks down on the floor here who had their hands up earlier, and I didn't see them. Anybody have any questions there now? No, okay. Ms. Schifrin? Oh, all right.
I'll hold it right up here this time. Colby Streeter, 230 Wallace Hill Road. The conservation restriction requirement, does this apply to much larger properties, and will the rest of the statement remain as it is? And I believe it reads something like 30% of the property is to remain as open space. Not more than 25% of that will be in wetland.
Questions come on the motion. Anybody in the planning board can address that, perhaps?
It's about subsection C, line 7, item 7. And the rest of that line is that the development of that property is supposed to have 30% of it remain as open space. Not more than 25% of that can be in a wetland. If you remove a permanent conservation restriction, who's there to ensure that it will remain undeveloped and open?
Hold on, Bob, we got your microphone.
So what you see before you is an amendment and trying to refine and modify and make more usable and changes to an existing age-restricted bylaw. So the planning board worked very efficiently and diligently trying to improve on a bylaw that was already in existing. So that's basis of the recommendation here, was to make what we have better, okay? So that's what you see in front of you. The things that I've seen as a member on the planning board, and all of a sudden we got a lot of applications for age-restricted development, and our bylaws that were still in existence, because this has not been approved, we worked under those bylaws. I have a lot of difficulty with defining the occupants. I have a lot of difficulty with giving a lot of discretionary decisions about setbacks, about other things. So our current bylaw now has very specific requirements. And the way I view those is that's the minimum standard. If you didn't meet that, then why are you even here? And, but there's all this pressure from developers and the interest to provide more housing in town that becomes an issue. So age-restricted development, in my view, is trying to accommodate a specific persona. And when I envision that, I see a disparity of people with a variety of medical disabilities. And so when I look at a site plan presented by one of these developers, it's important to me to think about the person that building was designed for. So how far the dumpster is, can he get in and out of his garage? Do we have steps? What else? Now we're putting people closer together, density-wise, to help encourage this kind of development. So now we reduce the parking requirement that we would normally have for another type of development. And I'm finding that I think personally, and again, as a board, we've gone through 3 of these, and each one we realized after we voted for it and approved it, where we missed a vote. Okay? So that's a board that's very conscientious and trying to do the best they can. But it becomes a work in progress. You see the results of what you did last time and you try to improve it. So this...
What's your point of order? Are you questioning the quorum? Okay, that's a motion that takes precedence. I guess we'll call the counters up and we'll count to see if we do have a quorum. I know the crowd has been waning a bit. All right, let's see, Jock and Becky, could you, well, you guys do this side and the balcony, all right? And Bill and Jock, you do this side and the front, okay? Thanks. FinCom, yep, they're voters. No. Yes, yeah, FinCom, yeah. You guys just, at the floor and the balcony, you guys get the stage, the FinCom, and that side. So, right here.
3, 4, 5, 6. Right, you're not counting as a network at 6. Right, we're not.
Or is that?
No, they're oh, we're doing FinCom.
Yes, you're doing FinCom. Yep.
Well.
I don't think we're going to make it.
We've got 31.
Okey-doke. Thank you. Bill, you didn't count Tom, you didn't count Adam, right? You didn't count. Or- No. Thank you. Okay. All right, the counters have reported back that we do not have a quorum. There are only 59 of us still here. So, that being the case, I believe we have to dissolve the meeting. And perhaps this article needs a little more work anyway. But is there a motion to dissolve? Second? Motion has been made and seconded to dissolve the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Meeting is dissolved. Thank you all very much for staying. Huzzah! Don't forget, if you want to join the Minutemen, see me or Bill right out, or go on the townsendmm.org and help celebrate our 250th anniversary.